right, invites are all out. Hi, Keith. How are you? Invites are out. Going to give everyone a minute or two to come in. If you have questions that you know you have, throw them in the chat. I'll start with those. My thought is that I'm going to be chatting about the self versus self concept paper again. But we'll see where everyone's questions are. I will be back in 1 second. I forgot to grab my coffee. Right. I am back. Taylor, Psych Info doesn't require you to pay for your articles. It's asking you to pay for articles because you need to request them from Psych Info, which means you would have to request them through the library, so it'll take a little bit of time. If you're seeing an article that just says to cost money, that's one of the very few articles that the college can't get access to. So that will just be one that you would have to skip. There's very, very few articles. As a matter of fact, I've never actually used one that had never even seen one that page came up for. But if it does, it's because the college knows they can't get access to that specific journal. So just try to find a different one. It'll either, as long as you're logged in through your account, as long as you're logged in through your account, it should either say click for full text, search for full text, just have a PDF. And if you search for full text and it says it can't get it, then it's going to have a request it page that you would just fill out. And you still have time to fill that out. It's going to take about a week to get that article. Yes, Taylor, definitely go through the school library. So if you go through Psych Info, when you go into there, I don't remember when in the step it happens from home, but you get a page that just says to log into your account. You're going to use your same credentials that you would use for Canvas. They do have a disclaimer, the library. They say if that does not work, those credentials, try the credentials you use to sign up for the Wi-Fi on campus. Apparently, a couple people they put in their information using a different metric. But it should all be fixed that it's your Canvas login info. And as long as you're in Psych Info through that, 99% of articles, I'm guessing on that number, but 99% of articles you should have access to, either immediately or by requesting them through the school library. Keena, that's a hard question to answer because I don't think that you mean the movie poster for that. But yes, to answer your question, the movie poster, you get the choice between the personality assignment and the movie poster. The poster that's on from the library session that we've been using from step 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the common research assignment, that one you have to do both of. You have to do the literature review paper, which is step 3, and the poster off of that, which is step 4. But that poster is different than the movie poster. The movie poster was only in my Tuesday, Thursday classes, and we were going to hang them up around campus. That was a different poster than the one at the end of the semester that's due for step 4. The one for step 4 is still mandatory for everyone, but the movie poster, because we switched online, so I can't hang them up on campus and everything, I gave you the choice between that poster or the personality assignment. And because the movie poster would be more work, I only would recommend doing the movie poster if you had already started it before spring break, since we just moved online at like the worst time for that assignment. It was right when you guys were almost finished with it. You're welcome, Taylor. I did see your email. I was going to reply to it during my lunch break between the two live streams. I don't want you to think I was ignoring it, but I got a little bit of a late start on work today. I was distracted by a game on my cell phone a little longer than I should have been this morning, to be honest. I know the posters are confusing because there's two different ones for them. The easiest way to make sure you're clear every single week is just click on the module that's by the dates. And in every module I have, the first thing in there is like a for the week. I think I label it, this is what you need to do for this week. And that lets you know week by week what you have to do. And that hopefully will clear up the confusion. If you're just looking at everything that needs to be done, well, there's something that's due every week. So that can get a little confusing and can pile up, I think, if you're just looking at it. Like if you're just clicking on the to-do calendar or something, there's a lot of stuff there. It's a lot easier if you're just going week by week. With the exception of step 3 and step 4, which are due May 4th. With the exception of those two things, everything else is designed that you're just doing it that week. You don't have to work ahead for that. Step 3 and step 4 are two big assignments, and they're both due on May 4th. So those are the assignments that you should be working on ahead of time. Yeah, it seems like everyone's getting distracted about that. And it's life is basically at the point that when you get the distraction, you kind of hold on to it. You enjoy it for as long as you can until you realize, well, now there's not all that much to do today. At least today, NFL draft. So I'm very online classes are a very different animal than an on-site class, and I'm not running this. Even though we're online now, I'm not running our class the same as my online class. My like if this was just a online class through the beginning of the semester, there's a couple of different requirements that I'm not doing with you all. Um, so it's not exactly the same as an online class, but it's still the same in the sense that you have something due every week, which is traditional for an online class. Whereas a face-to-face class, a lot of times, you have um, space between assignments. But I'm not trying to really mimic an online class with this. I'm actually trying to, like, these live streams are trying to mimic a face-to-face class. So it's kind of in between, to be honest. So hopefully you can keep up, but go week by week and look at the for the week. Right now we only have 3 weeks left. So if you're assuming you've looked through it for today for this week already, look through next week's and then look through the week after that, because at this point you have your assignment that's due this week. That's either the movie poster or the self concept paper. Then you have the exam next week, the step 3 and step 4. That's it. We have 4 assignments that are due for the rest of the semester. If you're choosing to do a Prezi for step 4, format wise, you can pick whatever template you think works. Basically, you're mimicking a poster. So most of the formats that you can choose from, the templates that you can choose from, are going to work based off of that. Like they have very simple ones where you have like a big circle and then 6 little circles that are around it. Something like that, it's probably a good fit to mimic the poster where you have the big poster could be like your name, the topic that you have, and maybe like that card or that thing that you want to draw everyone's eyes to, because you'll see that before you start going through the animations. And then on each one of those 6 little bubbles on the outside, you have one for the introduction, one for the methods, one for the results, one for the discussion, one for the reference, and then the other one wherever you really need it to go. Maybe a little, maybe more towards the just compare and contrast between Article 1 and Article 2. Maybe you need to add a 7th bubble and do one for Article 1 or one for Article 2 or something. Everything is up to what you want to do, though. If you're using Prezi, that's why I want you to use Prezi and not PowerPoint. Is almost all of the templates will work for it. If you happen to see one that you don't think will work, skip that one. Do I have an example of what a Prezi? I might be able to find one. Email me about that. Um, I'll see if I can find one that's still up from what I taught online last semester. And if we have one that I can find that's still active, I'll shoot a quick email to the student and see if they mind me sharing it. It's informal, Keith, so it really doesn't need a formal conclusion by any means. If you want to conclude it, just you can kind of just make mention to the assignment brought to attention, a couple things that maybe I should pay a little bit more attention to, um, something like that. But it doesn't need anything big for a conclusion. You're welcome, Taylor. Um, I don't understand. What paper do you mean, Jasir? From the library session? What you want me to put in, like the steps to find a new article? Is that what you mean? I th- okay, hi Amina. Yeah, I can definitely link the step one info for you. I'll link that in the last two modules so you can follow those instructions. It is there if you need it right this second. Just click on common research assignment in the whole main module that I have. That's always going to be the second one from the top. The top module, if you're on the homepage, the top one will have the dates for the current week. Then if you go to the next one, it's going to be the one that just says course information, and you can get that there. But I will link those into next week and the last week's module. I'll add those two right after my live streams for today. That's definitely something I can add for you. Right, so I'm not hearing a lot of questions about the self and self concept paper. So I'm just going to give you guys the really short version of that. Um, and then if most of the questions are about the last couple weeks of the assignment, we can definitely chat more about that. It is due May 4th, so it is something that you should be thinking about. So I'm very happy to see that people are thinking about it now. But let me start by what's due this week. Self concept paper is due tomorrow by end of day. You submit it to me on Canvas. I did invite my class that uses Blackboard into this. If anyone is in this room from that class, Blackboard is currently in some maintenance, so it just waited out until later today. But worst case, if it's not working by tonight or tomorrow morning when you're trying to submit, you can email it to me. But they're doing maintenance on it right now, so that's why you're not able to submit since last night. But for the majority of you guys, because the Tuesday, Thursday is dedicated to my Middlesex classes, that would be, sorry, that's on Canvas. Everything's working fine. You just submit that to me by tomorrow, end of day. Self-concept paper does 3 steps. Step 1 is the one I think everyone understood, is just create that list of 20 plus things I am ... Step 2 is you're then going and evaluating them one by one. So when you're doing step 1, try to not think about them. If it pops into your head, put it down. Step 2, you go and you evaluate them one by one. You're answering the question of, is this something in myself or is this something in my self-concept? If you need more information on those 2 terms, that's a lot of information in the module. We can certainly chat more about those today if you have questions, but I'm not going to go into those unless you do have questions. The only alarming thing with that is if you saw everything in your real self or everything in your self concept. As long as you have some kind of a breakdown, whether it's 10 and 10, whether it's 15 and 5, either way, 15 in the real self or 15 in your self concept, all that be fine. But if it's all one or the other, there's probably some kind of an issue there. And after you finish that list, you just put it into a paper. The paper, I can't stress this enough. This has always been one of the big points. It's an informal paper. What that means is you can use the word I. It's a reflection paper. I expect to see I in the paper. You can use I as much as you need to. You don't have to worry about it looking like a formal essay. It will look more like a blog post or a diary or a journal entry for some of you than it would for a formal paper, and that's totally fine. All I need to see in the paper specifically is that you understand what the self and self-concept are and that you can apply it to your list. As long as you are doing that, I'm happy. And you're going to do that as much as you need. It has to be a 2 to 3 page paper, so it should be 2 full pages, not 2 or 3 lines onto the second page. And as long as you're doing that, you're in good shape. There's one thing I forgot to mention. What was it? Make sure it's 2 full pages. Oh, and if there's anything on your list after you evaluate it that you say, I don't know if I want to write about that, that's fine. You don't have to write about all 20 things on your list. I'm not going to be counting them out. So if there's something that you had on your list that you would want to be private, that's totally fine. I actually think that'll happen to most people. That if they're doing this list and they're really not evaluating it beforehand, you're going to probably eventually have something that you write down that's something that maybe is part of who you really are, that you're not the most proud of, or something like that, that you might not want to write about. And that's totally fine. And that's the paper that you're submitting on Friday. All right, so I saw a couple of things come up in chat. I'm going to catch up really quick. Yes, you can use Prezi for the final poster. You can use Prezi or do a poster board. If you do the poster board, you take pictures. Because I don't want to encourage you to go out shopping right now, I'm going to recommend for everyone to use the Prezi and make things easier. But the thing I do need you to do is use a Prezi and not PowerPoint, Google Slides, or anything like that. Prezi has built-in animations that mimic a poster really well. So yes, you definitely can use Prezi. If you want to email me something just to, like templates, see if you're on the right track, absolutely. The exam is on memory, personality, and abnormal. I don't know the chapter numbers off the top of my head right now. I'll look those up in a minute. But memory, personality, and abnormal, and I'll get those chapter numbers for you. And yes, I will definitely add step 1 into the module. No, you don't need to put the entire list in the paper. It's okay if you did, as long as you're not like if you're putting the list so that it's each item on its own line, don't count that towards the 2-page requirement. But it's okay if you want to just kind of mention a list, but I actually don't need to see the list. I just need to see that you're taking things from your list and applying it to the self and self-concept in the paper. Oh, 18-hour shifts. That is not a lot of sleep. That is hard on my ears just reading that. Are you doing something that's very involved with fighting the virus, Amina? And chapter numbers for the exam are chapters 6, 11, and 13. 6, 11, and 13 for my Middlesex classes. I see. Is that because people just are, they don't want to work right now, or did you have to make like cutbacks to people there? It's asking a whole lot of you. I think I'm going to have to start wearing a hat to my live streams. This is getting ridiculous. So the way I describe the poster, Taylor, and I have a video posted about this as well. The way I describe the poster is that you're writing a research worksheet using your paper instead of one of your articles. So in essence, it's not just summarizing the articles. What you're doing is you're basically going to be saying, this is what was in Article 1, this is what was in Article 2, so summarizing each of the articles. And then you're also doing, just like the paper does, you're talking about why they are important together. So that means that your poster also has some like significance between the articles, compare and contrast of the articles. So in essence, what you're doing is, if you're looking at the research worksheet that you wrote, you had your introduction for the article, methods, results, discussion. You're basically doing the same. So you can have a slide for the introduction. That's the introduction of Article 1, and then another one for Article 2, or what most people do is they just put the introduction of the two articles, that as you talked about them in your paper. Then you have the methods, the results, the discussion, same way for both articles. You have something that's eye-catching, like a graph or a chart or whatever it might be for your paper, and then you get into just the what makes them important together. What are the ideas for future research, or where do they work in harmony? Where do they compete with one another? What do they mean? So that's where you get to like the compare and contrast, as well as the big thing for the paper and the poster. It's not just compare and contrast in that section. It's also talking about what makes them important when you look at them together. And that's basically what the poster is. The big thing to keep in mind when you're writing the poster that I think will help a lot when it comes to what it's looking for is, the poster's purpose is so that your other classmates can look at your poster and understand what your research was about. So you might have, let's say you picked, I'm not looking at the sheet in front of me, so it's hard for me to remember it, but let's say you picked a bullet point about intelligence in dogs or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's still one of them. I know that used to be one. Well, you might have the class, and there might only be 3 other people that picked that bullet point. So the rest of the class can open your and they can still understand that bullet point from looking at your poster. And they're only going to look at your poster realistically for probably 2 minutes. But in that, at most 5 minutes, but realistically probably 2 minutes that they're looking at your poster, they now can understand what you researched. can exercise fight depression. They can look at that and they can say, okay, I can see what the research says about that. Now, you're only doing 2 articles, so it's very specific research. So they might look at yours for does exercise fight depression and then someone else's, and they're completely different because you might have focused on um, like running and calisthenics, and someone else might have focused on yoga, and it can have 2 very different perspectives on that. But they can look at yours and they can see what you researched and see how you answer the question and understand it. So the best thing to keep in mind is your poster is informative to someone else in the class. It's not that you're just submitting an assignment that I'm grading. It should be something that someone else in the class understands what you researched very quickly. It's a hard situation, and it seems like it's that for a whole lot of people right now. I mean, my heart goes out for you having to work that long, but it's very nice that you are doing what needs to be done because you're essential to those people rely on you. So it's very nice to see that you're rising to the occasion. But my heart goes out for you having to put in that many hours trying to rise to that occasion. I'm happy as long as you're keeping up with your work, not just for my class, but for all of your classes, and everyone will get through this. Let me make sure about that. All right, so I just was looking through the modules, just making sure there is the video explanation of the paper and poster in every module for the rest of the semester. And I'm the the step 1, the library session to the April 27th to May 1st and the May 4th to May 6th module. I'm putting it in both of them that are left for the semester, so you can easily get to them if you need to find a second article still. Just keep in mind, both step 3 and step 4 are both due on May 4th. The poster does have a couple things you need to do on Tuesday and Wednesday, but both the poster has to be submitted and the paper on May 4th. That's a Monday. That's a lot of work that you are submitting on a Monday of that week. So do make sure that you're not waiting to the last minute of that. Next week is the exam, so you can get through if you needed to. You can get through reading everything on like Monday, studying on Tuesday, submit the exam on Wednesday, and then at least that would leave you Thursday until Monday to write up those assignments. But if you still need a second article, make sure you're getting the article this week, and that's just you're pretty behind if you haven't already read your second article by now. So just make sure you don't wait to the last minute to do that. I'm going to take a really quick look to see if I have any questions through email because I know there's a couple people that don't have YouTube accounts to reply. And then I'm going to click back to the chat room on YouTube. Just give me 1 second. Okay. That is done. No emails there. Or there, okay. Amina, I don't understand what you mean by our second worksheet. I think you're referring to your second article, the research worksheet for that. And if you are, that one is not graded. Only the first research worksheet was graded. So you wrote the research worksheet on your first article, submitted that in paragraph form. If you're loading up the assignment for step 3 and you scroll down, you do have another blank research worksheet to use for your second article. But that one I'm not grading. That one you don't have to submit. So that one you can write in bullet points, freehand, however you need to do it for efficiency. And if that's not what you mean, just clarify for me. So the poster and the paper are both due on May 4th. Then on Tuesday, the poster is going to be submitted through a discussion board. On Tuesday, you're going to go in and look at other people's posters on that discussion board and just leave the 2 comments that we've been doing for all of the discussion board assignments. And then on Wednesday, the last thing I'm going to ask is that you go to your posters forum on the discussion board and you see whatever questions were left for you and you reply to them, because for this one, you might be being asked questions. So that's kind of similar to if you were in the groups that were in the article discussions. Some of people were asking you questions. So if you're getting some questions asked to you on Tuesday, just on Wednesday, go and answer those questions. So on Tuesday, you'll be on the discussion board probably for like a half an hour, looking at different people's posters and replying to 2. But on Wednesday, you're going to check in, just look at your form. That'll take 10 minutes. So the vast majority of the work is for sure going to be due for that Monday. For Tuesday and Thursday, but Tuesday will have a little bit of work because you're going to have to take a look through the class's posters and post a couple replies. So that'll take a little bit of time. But Wednesday, it'll take you all 10 minutes. So really, we're pretty much done on Tuesday. On Wednesday, you're just basically taking a really quick break from something else that you might be doing, like going in while there's an ad on Hulu up or something like that for a little bit of time and just answering some questions. It won't be anything massive on Wednesday. That's Wednesday, May 6th. That's not Wednesday of next week. And next week, we have our exam. So I'll be talking about next week the exam in detail, however, is necessary. I'll be talking about psychological disorders for a little bit. I organized psychological disorders to have a lot of videos for you. So they're all shorter videos, but they're videos on specific disorders. So you'll have a lot of information that's pretty readily available for you. And the videos, I know with disorders, even in the classroom, I know how much they can help. So they'll be organized that you watch a lot of little YouTube clips. To go along with the disorders, you submit the exam. And then on my live streams, I'll be talking about the chapter, the exam, and then there's a couple of takeaways for the class that I want to share with you guys that I like to do in the classroom. And as long as we have time, I'll do them just using the live stream. Or maybe I'll just post like a separate YouTube clip with them, one of the 2. I will do live streams next week. I will have a live stream on Monday and Thursday, as per usual, and then I'll have one the last week on Monday. I won't have the one on Thursday. Next week, I also do a live stream on Wednesdays for a class that meets on Wednesday and only Wednesday. I might invite all the classes to that live stream. I actually did that this week because I knew a lot of questions were going to happen for the self and self concept. I just invited all of my classes to all of the live streams and just included them, even though they have some different assignments. I might do that again for next week, depending on what might happen, because everyone will be doing the same exam. With that said, the final assignments are very different, so I might not do that depending on if we're talking about the final paper a lot next week. That's just going to get confusing if I blend the two classes since they have two different final papers. So maybe on Wednesday, but definitely for you guys, Monday and Thursday. I think that's going to make sense. I think I'm going to stick to just Monday and Thursday. If you subscribe to my channel, you can see when I'm live. So if you needed to stop in, you still could to the other classes stream. But I don't want to confuse everyone because that class has a different final paper than you guys do. So Monday, Thursday, then Monday, May 4th. And I can always schedule one-on-ones with anyone who has questions and things like that. So if you have questions, I can hop on this, or usually Zoom has been working really well for one-on-one questions, or over the phone, depending on how important video is and seeing each other. For our purposes, our semester is going to end on May 6th. The semester technically has a lot of liberty at the end for specialty scheduled final exams / specialty scheduled things that you might need for classes because of this switching online. But the official end date of the semester is, I believe, May 6th or May 7th. I think it might be May 7th. We're ending on May 6th. You might, though, have a class that's going to continue through that weekend or into the very beginning of next week, of that following week, because with everything switching online, a lot of time had to be spent just getting everyone on the same page. So they basically gave us some liberty with our own deadlines with grading, because every one of your professors have to get grades in by a certain date. And because I have so many students, I need to give myself enough time to grade. There's going to be so many papers that I have to grade. So they'll take me a while. In total, I'm going to have probably just under 200 papers to grade. So that's why I'm ending things on the Wednesday for us. It gives me enough time to get everything I need done on my end. So that was a long-winded answer to a simple question, Taylor. The simple question to you, for our class, it's going to end on Wednesday, May 6th, but your other classes, it might be a different date. So check with your professor because of everything going online. It's not exactly the same as a normal semester where pretty much everything ended on a certain date. There's some built-in wiggle room that some professors might be taking advantage of that I'm not taking advantage of for our class. You're very welcome. I'll talk to you next week, Taylor. There's a lot of chat and there's a lot of questions for this week, for this live stream, I should say. Does anyone else have any questions for me? I don't think I have anything else that I need to talk. We were talking with questions for so much today that I didn't go into the self and self concept in as much detail as I thought I would be, but you guys didn't really seem to have questions directly about that. So I don't think I need to go into more detail about it unless you do. But if you do have questions about the assignment due tomorrow, just let me know. Even if you're just saying I don't really understand the assignment, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about it. Um, but assuming everyone here right now is comfortable with the assignment that's due tomorrow, which is that self and self concept paper, or if you're in the Tuesday Thursday class, the movie poster is a option for you. The Monday class only has the self concept paper. Um, if you don't have any questions, then I don't have anything to add for today. Next week, I'll be going into psychological disorders a little bit. We'll be talking about the exam since the exam will be due Friday of next week. I'm sure we'll be talking about final papers next week since they are going to be due on May 4th. You really need to start thinking about them ahead of time and not waiting until that Monday to start them. And then there's a couple of takeaways for the class that I want to share, especially among the chaos right now of the world. The psychology of what's going on can be pretty, I think, pretty helpful. Because I'm sure a whole lot of us are getting to that point of a whole lot of psychological things, whether it's depression, whether it's frustration, anxiety. I'm sure we all are. I'm sure a lot of us are having some psychological responses at this point to what is going on in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty. We're not we're not getting dates of things. We're getting open-ended things, and that is a no-no when it comes to the psychology of how to handle a situation like that. Not that they're handling this poorly. They're doing the best that they can. They can't give us, deadlines and dates because what if we don't stick to them? But that makes that uncertainty makes things a little bit more challenging for each and every one of us when we're looking at all we need to know is when things will change, when things will get back to, even if it's not normal, it's a semblance of normal, a step in that direction. And when you have a date to look forward to, that actually psychologically really changes things. If you have a date, um, let's say, let's say they said that things were going to reopen when this first started. Let's say on April 1st, they said everything was going to reopen on June 1st. So 2 months, but they said that in April. Well, once you hit May 1st, our the way that we looked at that situation actually would have changed. We would have started that first month would have been, oh my God, we've been stuck in the house, we've been quarantined for a day, for a week, for 2 weeks. But once we hit May 1st, that mentality would change. We would start looking at it in terms of how much time is left. We would start looking at that and saying, okay, there's only a month left, there's only 2 weeks left, only a week left of this. And that actually changes that. Being able to look at the count down instead of the count up actually will start to help us to get beyond that. It gets us through the time with the state of optimism because we haven't been able to look at that because everything's indefinite. It actually is very punishing to our own mental health and our own psychological well-being when it comes to what we're doing with this, because we can't get to that second stage. Once you get to that going down and it's counting down, well, there's some liberation of it counting down, and that is a breath of fresh air. It can be very liberating and can really help us. And I think we really need that right now. So, especially with everything between it being intro to psychology and having a couple things I like to talk about with what's going on in the world, maybe that's some to talk about a little bit next week as well on the live streams. That's going to be my intention for next week. And if you uh, are interested, you can come back. I'm going to be doing another live stream at 1:30, so you can come back and hang out then too. We'll see how popular it was. If it's like this one, we'll be chatting quite a bit. And that's basically it. I'm here in the chat room if you have any questions for a little bit, and then I'm going to close the live stream, have some lunch, and then we'll be back at 1:30. I thought I finished it. that's terrible. All right, I am going to close the live stream window because it's just me in here right now, and I'll be back at 1:30.